Hey everybody, welcome back to the Huddle, the Review.com's weekly sports show. I'm Rob Toder, Executive Editor of the Alliance Review, joined as always by Mike Brown, our sports editor. And today's subject is wrestling. And boy, do we have some things to talk about, Mike. Let's start off with the state dual tournament, which, for all the good that we want to talk about it, there's some logistical issues.
A lot of problems to be worked out. And, we talked like this last week, Rob. We thought there'd be some problems, and there were. Again, distance is one of the problems. West Branch has to go back up to Lake County Perry again for the second week in a row, an hour and 45 minutes each way. And then just some other things about it. And I'm sure the coaches knew there would be some problems, but I don't think they expect them to be to this extent. So.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a format that's long overdue. And I think a lot of states have already done it, a lot of other states have already done it. And I think it's a great idea. Right. It gives the kids another chance for exposure at the state level and to see some opponents you haven't seen all year long. Right. But I think there's some serious logistical issues, and I think one of them, let's talk about this. Let's look ahead to this week. West Branch has to go an hour and 45 minutes to Perry to wrestle Perry at home. Mm-hmm. If they win, they've got to wrestle again for the championship of that district or that region. Mm-hmm. But they've also got a big Thursday night match against Minerva. So if you're the West Branch coaching staff, do you put more stock into the state dual meet tournament or into the league championship, or a match that could potentially determine the league championship?
Right, and if I'm that, and I've heard some coaches tell me this off the record last week, that they were going to send some JV wrestlers for the state duels. If you don't think you legitimately have a chance to win the state title through the state duels, I think your focal point's got to be on your NBC matches and your conference matches, which are a night later. Now, they weren't last week, but they are this week. For the teams that are left, they're wrestling the state duels on Wednesday night, which would be three area teams. That would be West Branch and Minerva as well. Minerva's got the same dilemma West Branch has because, they've got the big match with West Branch Thursday night down in Minerva. But yet, Minerva has a state dual match Wednesday night against Carrollton, and if they win that, they go against Claymont. Yeah. And the same thing with West Branch. So, the Minerva coach and the West Branch coach have to figure out, boy, what's more important this week to me? Is it the NBC match on Thursday night? I tend to believe it would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or it would be the state duel on Wednesday night. So that's a tough one. That's a real tough one, but I lean toward the league match.
Yeah, I think it comes back to logistics. Mm-hmm. Maybe moving the state dual meets to Monday night might be the answer. Yeah. I know a lot of schools, a lot of teams are going to wrestle big tournaments on Saturdays, and that Martin Luther King weekend you may go with a Saturday-Sunday format. There might be some around the state. I know the Top Gun doesn't do that, but there might be some others around the state. So there's some logistical issues, I think, to point out. The one thing that struck me was, in the case of Jefferson area last week, with the bad weather on Wednesday, and there was some question as to whether the matches were even going to go off. Jefferson area said, we're not risking our kids' health. We're not driving the hour to go to Perry, and they had to forfeit. So what was the point of even having that set up? And then West Geauga, their opponent, goes advances right to this weekend because they had no opponent.
Yeah, so, and I saw that a lot in the brackets. Even before the tournament started, there were a lot of teams that withdrew from the state duels for one reason, and probably a lot of the things we were talking about just now. But there's a lot of things to be worked out with this, and we've got it for 5 years. They've signed on for 5 years, so we've got it. But they're going to have to tweak some things next year, especially if you want to get more fans. I mean, if you're driving an hour and 45 minutes on a school night to see a wrestling match where you could split the difference and have it somewhere else at a neutral site, I think that would be the route to go in future years.
Well, again, as we said, it's a great idea. I think it's an idea whose time has come. Obviously, there's some issues to be worked out. Obviously, Mike and I have all the answers. So, Ohio wrestling coaches, come on, give us a call. We'll be happy to give. We'll be happy to give you our opinion as we always do. So, but let's look ahead though, Mike, to Thursday. We touched on it a little bit. West Branch and Minerva in a big NBC match, and Marlington Alliance in a big NBC match. A couple of nice events.
And the Marlington Alliance one, this one counts this week. They wrestled last week in the state duels. That did not count toward the NBC. This one does. It'll be at Marlington on Thursday night. Alliance has some good individuals. Marlington's got a nice young team. The matches at Marlington, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And then the big one Thursday night will be West Branch at Minerva. And boy, those are two good teams. I mean, along with Carrollton, who's right there. Those are the three best teams wrestling-wise. I think it's played out that way this winter in the NBC. And the match is at Minerva, and Minerva is always tough at home, and that's going to be a good one. A lot of times with wrestling, you know this as well as I do, Rob, it comes down to matchups. You know, you might match up well with one team in lower weights and not well with another one. So that match could very well come down to the individual matchups.
Do you think Alliance has any advantage, even though Marlington won that tournament, the dual meet tournament match last week? Do you think Alliance has any kind of advantage now that they've seen what they can do?
Possibly. I think it probably works to a detriment as the team that won before, because the team that lost can say, now, you know what, we can tweak our roster, our lineup, this didn't work well. You know, so there's probably a lot of gamesmanship that goes on with that.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see, and I think that's one fun benefit of the dual meet tournament.
Yeah.
So, well, we're going to have coverage of both of those big NBC matches. We're going to have coverage of the dual meet tournament from Wednesday in Thursday's Alliance Review. We'll have the Thursday matches and Friday's Alliance Review. Mike Brown, follow him on All Rev Sports on Twitter. They'll have live updates all the time and let you know up-to-the-minute things if there's any weather issues or anything like that. And, of course, we'll have videos throughout the rest of this season as well. We're getting down to crunch time. The district tournament's not that far off, and it's getting down to who's going to be headed to Columbus for the state tournament in March as well. So we hope you follow the review for all our wrestling coverage. And if you see us at a match, stop by and say hello.